So, I'm going to talk a little bit today about self criticism and self compassion. So, there's a big movement right now in a lot of healing circles to work on self compassion and being more compassionate to yourself. And I think that there's not enough information on understanding why we want to move from self criticism to self compassion. Often, self criticism is used in our society right now as a motivator. If you push yourself, if you are critical of yourself, you're going to try harder and you're going to work harder. And what self criticism actually does is it creates a constricting in our body and in our mind and actually pushes us into a survival state. Because when we're living in, we are not good enough, all of a sudden we become unsafe, at least to our brains. And so while we get like this rush of cortisol and this rush of adrenaline to get done what we need to get done and maybe even do it okay, we often, this isn't a long-term kind of solution. It causes a lot of physical side effects, a lot of emotional side effects, and it often holds us back from achieving because doors close. If we don't believe in ourselves to be able to walk through that door and achieve, we're not going to walk through the door in general. And one example that I give a lot of this is I used to sit in a self-critical space often, not thinking I was good enough. It caused a lot of people pleasing, a lot of over attending to other people's needs, and staying in jobs and positions that undervalued me because I didn't believe in myself to take next steps. And so when I started doing more self-compassion work, understanding what's under that self-criticism, understanding, the core beliefs and the memories that live there, and then moving towards engaging in more self-compassion, new doors opened for me. We can take this YouTube video as an example. 3 years ago, I would have been way too self-critical to put together this video. I would have had, if I did it, I would have had something completely scripted and outlined that I was basically reading from of like a teleprompter. And I probably never would have posted it because I would have watched it and gone, oh my gosh, your voice sounds stupid, or that information sounds stupid, or, there's probably somebody that's doing this better. And so I would have completely been held back. And now in engaging in self-compassion work, it doesn't mean that there isn't some fear. It doesn't mean that those thoughts don't come up of, maybe this is out there already, but I am able to engage in understanding that, I have something different to give. And if I can work on giving that, even if it only impacts one person, that is a true blessing for me. So what we want to do in moving from self-criticism to self-compassion is not to criticize our criticism. It's a quick cycle to get caught up in because you notice it and you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to be critical of myself. Oh, see, you idiot, you did it again. You were critical of yourself. And what we want to do is gently notice the self-criticism, notice that voice in the back of your head, and see if you can understand what's going on underneath it. Is that voice afraid that you might fail, afraid that somebody might say something about you? Is that voice feeling a little bit angry or upset? Is it sad and disappointed? Usually our self-criticism comes from a place of protection. So when we work towards moving towards self-compassion, we identify the self-criticism, and if you can, identify the emotion and the feeling underneath it. If you can't, that's okay. Just start with a self-criticism. Start with saying, I'm feeling really self-critical right now. So that's step one, identify the feeling, either that you're being self-critical or something that's underneath the self-criticism. Step two is bringing a common humanity to the practice. And so understanding that you aren't alone in feeling this. And you want to be cautious with this comparison because oftentimes people go, yeah, like you're not feeling this. There's way worse things in the world that are happening to other people. So, you shouldn't be feeling this way at all. What we want step two to actually look like is identifying with ourselves and saying, I'm not alone in this feeling. A lot of people struggle. And I know that, that I am not alone. I'm not the only one feeling dumb. I'm not the only one feeling less than. So this feeling is a part of a bigger picture. This is a human emotion, and that's okay. And then your third step is going to be to bring in kindness into the practice. Validating that emotion. It's okay for me to feel self-critical sometimes. I'm doing the best I can right now. It's okay for me to feel afraid. It's okay for me to feel sad. Bringing in any kind of validation and kindness to that practice where you can hold a little bit of extra space for yourself, a little bit of warmth for yourself. And then asking yourself too, what can I do to nurture this emotion? Not necessarily to make it go away, but to help it with soothing. And to know that it's okay for me to be sad. It's okay for me to be anxious. It's okay for me to be disappointed sometimes. It's a natural part of how our brains work. It's a human feeling. That's okay. It doesn't create my identity. And I can be kind to that feeling without believing its truth. So this 3-step practice, identify the feeling, bringing common humanity, and then bringing kindness and warmth into the practice, comes from Kristin Neff's work of mindful self-compassion. I will put a link below to her website. She has a few meditations that are amazing as well in working with your inner critic, building more self-compassion practices, and slowing yourself down. But the real key of this is working on taking steps not to judge the inner critic, not to be critical of the inner critic, but instead trying to learn what it's trying to tell us, what that emotion or feeling underneath the surface is, and then how do we support and take care of that so that it's not holding us back. If you are finding yourself really getting stuck with living in these self-critical spaces, then you work towards finding a therapist that helps work with inner critics, helps move towards more self-compassionate spaces, and does deeper healing work around these memories and beliefs that are held in the lower parts of our brain. So some of those therapies can be brain spotting, EMDR, somatic experiencing, anything that is helping you access that subconscious material rather than trying to logic your way out of the self-criticism. Feel free to comment below on how the practice has supported you, or reach out if you need any assistance in creating more connections and finding self-compassion. Thank you so much.